Okay, I'm going to show my age here. Back in the 80s, there was a book called Everything I Need to Know About Life I Learned in Kindergarten. And as I have been teaching my kids and doing science experiments through the course of doing She Loves Science since 2014, I realized that a lot of the science that we're showing our kids and the things that we're doing can be applied to engineering and that you use in engineering. And I thought back to my life and some of the things that I would play with or I would do as a kid, and realized that I used a lot of that going through college and the coursework of the engineering programs. So for example, when you look at salad dressing and you see the oil and the, water interface in salad dressing as a kid, and you shake it up, obviously, you learn about the density of liquids. And the density of liquids has a huge part to play in an engineering called petroleum engineering, when you're trying to extract oil and gas from underground. When I would look at my bike, let's say, and I would see rust on my bike as a kid, I was learning about materials and how materials corrode and what type of materials corrode. As an engineering student, you have to learn about materials, what materials go together, what things, dissimilar metals, and how you can't put them together. Those things would cause corrosion. So I was learning about those things as a kid, looking at my bike. Another thing I did as a kid, I don't recommend this, is when I decided, somehow I got a hold of a set of keys, and I decided I was going to turn on my boat in my room, and I plugged one of my keys into the one side of the electrical plug, and obviously not both sides, because if I did, I would have gotten shocked. But then I was learning about circuits and how circuits work, even though I didn't realize it, and I was pretty lucky that I didn't get shocked. But one of the giant things of my childhood that made a huge impact on me, and I can remember this as a kid in 1986 when I was watching the Challenger space shuttle, and when it took off and when it exploded. And I probably wasn't watching the live feed at the time, but I was witnessing the importance of what engineering programs call process safety, and engineers call process safety. And so, which is, how do you keep explosions from happening? How do you keep disasters from occurring? And as a child, I was watching that unfold, during the Challenger, watching the Challenger explosion. So it makes me think, what are kids nowadays seeing? What are the things that we're facing in our world today with global pandemic, vaccines that are now coming out and are available, the natural disasters that they're seeing and that we're dealing with infrastructure and floods and things like that. And so what are children nowadays seeing that they have, little control over at this point, and how the world is dealing with it, but what is processing there in the back of their minds? And how will they come up with the solutions when they become engineers and when they become the problem solvers of the future? So I put together a series on the She Loves Science blog that's called another series. It's called What I Learned as a Kid I Use as an Engineer. And so I'm taking small science experiments like slime and density experiments and things that I believe, if we show our kids these experiments, that it could jog something in their memory when they get to be in the engineering programs. And they may look back and say, hey, I learned about polymers when I was doing slime. And, perhaps I could make a better polymer that could perhaps absorb water and keep floods from occurring, and who knows? But what are those little seeds that we're planting in their minds now? And how can we show them those things that they could potentially use in the future? So I hope you find that useful. I'll put the link below to show where you can find that What I Learned as a Kid I Use as an Engineer blog posts. And I hope you find those useful, and talk to you soon. Thanks.